Just a few days after violent hostilities erupted between Iran and Israel, a conflict that captured the attention of the entire world. 3 enigmatic Chinese cargo planes suddenly vanished from radar screens near the borders of Iran. Official records claimed that these flights were bound for the small European country of Luxembourg, a key hub for global air freight. Yet, in a move that deeply puzzled aviation experts, these planes never even entered European airspace. Instead, they took unusual, circuitous routes across Central Asia, and just as they neared Iran, their tracking systems went dark. The world was left with a burning question. What was hidden inside those cargo holds, and what is China's real agenda in this new, high-stakes clash of global powers? To unravel this mystery, we need to step back and examine the complex, often secretive web of relationships between China and Iran. Over the past 2 decades, Beijing and Tehran have drawn steadily closer, united by shared suspicion of Western dominance, especially that of the United States, and intertwined by a powerful network of economic and strategic interests. Iran ranks among China's most crucial energy partners, with Beijing importing up to 2 million barrels of Iranian oil each and every day. This supply is so vital that, even as international sanctions have squeezed Iran, China has often been Tehran's economic lifeline, using creative methods to keep the oil flowing. The economic partnership is cemented by a sweeping 25-year cooperation agreement, inked in the year 2021. This deal is worth hundreds of billions of US dollars and spans everything from infrastructure construction to technology and finance. Chinese companies have poured investment into Iranian ports, railways, and energy facilities in exchange for preferential access to oil and gas. For Iran, these investments offer a crucial escape hatch from Western isolation. For China, they anchor Beijing's Belt and Road Initiative, a vast multi-trillion-dollar project designed to link Asia, Africa, and Europe with Chinese-built trade routes and logistics hubs. Yet China's interest in Middle Eastern stability is about far more than just oil. The region serves as a vital crossroads for the Belt and Road Initiative, with crucial railways and highways passing through Iran and neighboring countries. Instability here threatens not only China's energy supplies but also the security of trillions of US dollars in infrastructure investments and the viability of Beijing's long-term strategic ambitions. Beijing's diplomats walk a delicate tightrope, maintaining relationships with Iran while simultaneously cultivating ties with Saudi Arabia, Israel, and other regional rivals. But then, on the 7th day of spiraling hostilities, just after reports emerged that Israel had conducted a massive attack, allegedly destroying over 120 of Iran's critical missile launchers, 3 Chinese Boeing 747 freighters took off on a journey that would soon spark worldwide intrigue. According to radar data cited by respected outlets such as the Daily Telegraph, these aircraft charted a highly unusual flight path. They soared over Kazakhstan, then Uzbekistan, then Turkmenistan, before approaching the border of Iran. And then, in a move straight out of a Cold War spy novel, they switched off their transponders, the electronic beacons that allow planes to be tracked internationally, making them effectively invisible to commercial radar. The listed destination for these flights was Luxembourg, one of Europe's busiest cargo airports and the home base for Cargolux, a major international freight carrier. Yet, not a single authority or tracking service in Europe recorded their arrival. When questioned, Cargolux categorically denied any involvement, suggesting that perhaps the radar data was in error or had been misinterpreted. However, the combination of circuitous routing, sudden radar disappearance, and the disabling of transponders, all classic hallmarks of covert military or intelligence operations, fueled intense speculation from Washington to Tel Aviv and beyond. Aviation security experts have long noted that Boeing 747 freighters are especially well-suited for transporting heavy, sensitive, or oversized military equipment. Their cavernous cargo bays, powerful engines, and long range make them a favorite for both legitimate and clandestine state operations. In fact, throughout history, similar aircraft have been used to deliver everything from humanitarian aid to advanced missile components, sometimes under the cover of commercial cargo runs. China's history of supplying Iran with sensitive technology is well documented. Despite repeated international criticism and sanctions, Chinese companies have been accused of providing Iran with materials and know-how for its ballistic missile programs, dual-use electronics, and even advanced cyber capabilities. The timing of these mysterious flights, just as the Iranian regime was reeling from Israeli strikes, raises the possibility that China was stepping up its support, perhaps delivering badly needed military hardware, sophisticated surveillance gear, or communications systems designed to help Iran weather the storm. Andrea Gaselli, an expert on Chinese foreign policy at the University of Exeter, put it bluntly: these cargoes generate interest because there is a widespread expectation that China might do something to help Iran. The very ambiguity surrounding these flights only adds to the intrigue. For policymakers, military strategists, and intelligence agencies, the possibility that a major world power like China could be directly or indirectly supporting Iran during a period of active conflict is deeply concerning. What is at stake here is not just a few shipments of military supplies, but the broader balance of power in the Middle East. Tuvia Gehring, a senior researcher at Israel's Institute for National Security Studies, warns that the possibility of China overtly sending defense materials to Tehran should be closely monitored. If proven, such actions could embolden Iran, send a message of defiance to Israel and the United States, and potentially trigger a dangerous escalation spiral throughout the region. But with no official explanation for the flights, the world is left to piece together the puzzle from available clues, radar blips, flight plans, and cryptic diplomatic statements. Are we witnessing China quietly arming a key regional ally in defiance of Western pressure? Or is something even more complex at play, a subtle maneuver in a much larger, multi-layered geopolitical chess game between the world's leading powers? To truly understand the gravity of this situation, consider the potential scenarios now emerging from the shadows. One possible outcome is a major shift in the regional balance of power. If China is indeed covertly supplying Iran with advanced weaponry, next-generation surveillance technology, or encrypted communications systems, it would not only strengthen Tehran's hand, but also send an unmistakable signal to regional rivals, including Israel, Saudi Arabia, and the United States. Such support, even if never publicly acknowledged, could encourage Iran to take riskier actions, secure in the knowledge that a heavyweight global player stands quietly behind it. But the regional chessboard is more intricate than ever. The United States, already wary of growing Chinese influence in the Middle East, is watching closely for any sign that Beijing is expanding its military footprint. Any evidence of direct Chinese involvement could prompt Washington to reinforce its own military presence, deepen alliances with Israel and Gulf states, or even impose new sanctions on Chinese companies. The risk of miscalculation, of one side overreacting to ambiguous signals, grows with every unannounced flight and every shadowy maneuver. From a global perspective, why should viewers across the world care about these shadowy cargo flights? First, this episode starkly illustrates how economics, technology, and security are now deeply interwoven at the highest levels of international politics. The ability to control or disrupt energy flows, critical trade routes, or the transfer of sensitive technologies can shift power balances in ways that traditional military campaigns never could. Second, we are witnessing the evolution of great power competition. No longer is it just about tanks, warships, and armies. Today's rivalry is fought in the realms of digital surveillance, cyber warfare, artificial intelligence, logistics, and stealthy movements like the ones we saw with these cargo flights. Control of advanced technologies and the ability to move them undetected has become a central battleground in the contest for global influence. Let's add some historical perspective. During the Cold War, the world watched as the United States and Soviet Union vied for influence across the Middle East, using arms shipments, covert operations, and proxy wars to tip the balance. In the 1970s and 1980s, for example, both superpowers funneled weapons to regional partners under the cover of commercial cargo flights or humanitarian aid. Today, the playbook may be more sophisticated, but the stakes are just as high, perhaps even higher, given the proliferation of advanced technologies and the interconnectedness of global markets. So what are the practical lessons for those following global markets and technology trends? Keep a close watch on geopolitical hotspots like the Middle East. Sudden disruptions in oil supplies, maritime security, or technology flows can trigger cascading effects, spiking energy prices, rattling stock markets, or prompting new waves of sanctions and export controls. For tech enthusiasts, the saga of these flights offers a glimpse into the cutting edge of aviation technology, how advanced tracking systems can both reveal and obscure the truth, and how nations exploit gaps in global surveillance to move sensitive cargoes. Let's consider the broader implications. If China is actively supporting Iran's military modernization, even through indirect means, it could accelerate an arms race in the region. Israel, feeling threatened, might seek closer collaboration with the United States, or invest in new countermeasures. Saudi Arabia and other Gulf states could ramp up their own defense spending, potentially turning the Persian Gulf into an even more volatile powder keg. Meanwhile, Russia, another key player with deep ties to both Iran and China, may see new opportunities to expand its own influence. At the same time, China's actions could backfire. Increased scrutiny from Western governments, new rounds of sanctions, or restrictions on technology transfers could complicate Beijing's global ambitions. The Chinese leadership faces a delicate balancing act: how to project power and protect its interests without triggering a backlash that undermines the very stability it seeks. Let's not forget the role of business interests and state-owned enterprises. Here's a little-known fact. The Chinese state-owned company Henan Civil Aviation Development and Investment holds a stake of more than one-third, specifically 35%, in Cargolux, the very airline at the heart of this controversy. When state interests and commercial logistics intertwine, the line between legitimate business and covert statecraft becomes increasingly blurred. This is not a new phenomenon. Throughout history, national airlines and shipping companies have served as cover for intelligence operations and strategic deliveries. The silence from Beijing and Tehran has only fueled further speculation. International analysts, former intelligence officials, and military experts are all weighing in. Claire Lopez, a former CIA officer, argues that China is part of the anti-West axis that includes Iran and Russia. Joseph Humire from the Center for a Secure Free Society observes that China's diplomatic efforts with Iran make the region more inhospitable for the United States and, by extension, for the West. Victor Gao, a prominent Chinese academic, insists that China does not want to see a war of aggression against Iran. These perspectives highlight the complexity of the situation, where alliances, rivalries, and hidden agendas all collide. Looking ahead, what are the possible futures that could unfold? Some experts predict that China may double down on its role as a mediator, leveraging its economic clout and diplomatic channels to broker a ceasefire or de-escalation. Others warn that a new era of proxy conflicts may be dawning, with great powers using regional partners to test new technologies, strategies, and alliances. Still others foresee a tightening of Western sanctions, as the United States and Europe seek to limit China's ability to project power in sensitive regions. There are also opportunities. If China, Iran, and other regional players can find ways to cooperate economically and diplomatically, the region could see new investment in infrastructure, technology, and energy. Enhanced collaboration could boost economic growth, create jobs, and foster greater stability. But the risks are equally profound. A misstep by any player could trigger a wider war, disrupt global markets, or unleash new waves of cyber and information warfare. So, what is truly inside those Chinese cargo planes? For now, that may remain a closely guarded secret, known only to a handful of officials in Beijing and Tehran. But one thing is clear: China's actions are about far more than simply arming an ally. They reflect a sophisticated, multi-layered strategy to expand influence, protect vital interests, and perhaps reshape the entire security architecture of the Middle East. To answer our original intrigue, while direct proof of weapons shipments is still missing, the circumstantial evidence, the timing of the flights, the winding routes, the radar evasion, strongly suggests that China is at least exploring new ways to project power and test the boundaries of global surveillance. Whether it is arms, advanced technology, or a powerful demonstration of support, each flight tells a story of ambition, risk, and the shifting tides of world politics. Are we witnessing the dawn of a new era in great power rivalry, or just another act in a long-running game of shadows? Is the world order on the verge of fundamental change, or will the old patterns of competition and cooperation endure? We want to know what you think. Share your theories and insights in the comments below. If you found this deep dive illuminating, make sure to subscribe to our channel and turn on notifications. We'll continue untangling the biggest mysteries at the intersection of global economics, technology, and security.